Hey everyone, welcome this morning. My name is Jerry, and this is the Jerry Rig Podcast. I'm going to pull up my notes, make sure I'm not losing anything. I'm so glad you could join us on a busy Tuesday. And today we got a really great subject that we're going to talk about. It's on the minds of a lot of folks. They're out there hustling, trying to get jobs here. Let me make sure I'm getting a little bit of feedback, so I'm going to stop this. Let's see here. There we go. All right, we got that squared away. Now, today, lots of folks out there hustling, trying to get a job, and they're just beating their heads against the wall. And there are some other alternatives. And we want you to think about that. And one of those alternatives might be to start your own business, consultancy, agency, fractional work, whatever. My special guest today is Joshua Mung, and he has a company called Think, Adapt, Build. And we're going to talk to him in just a minute.
This is the Jerry Rigged Podcast, your no-nonsense knowledge base for business technology, marketing, and analytics. And now your host, Jerry Surstead.
Well, there we go. I had my fancy little intro. I'm going to bring Josh in here now. Hey, Josh, how's everything going?
Good. How you doing, Jerry?
Good. You know, I can't do anything regular. I'm an old radio guy, and so I used to do a lot of radio production, and so I got to have a little music, a little fancy stuff.
I love it. Who's the voiceover person? Was that like someone?
That's AI, believe it or not.
Wow. It's like Alexa's like younger sister, right?
Exactly. So anyway, welcome, folks. So glad you could join us. Welcome back. So Joshua has a company called Think, Adapt, Build. He's an executive consultant and a fractional COO. And today we're kind of talking about this concept of escaping the 9 to 5. If you already have a job, maybe you're thinking about that, and you're thinking about building a scalable business, or maybe you've just been unemployed for a while and you've been beating your head against the wall, you can't get interviews, whatever the case may be. Sometimes trying to pick up a client or two is maybe easier than maybe trying to nail down a W-2 job in this climate. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Joshua is a fractional COO, business strategist, and entrepreneur, and he helps businesses scale with operational excellence. And we're going to break down this transition a little bit, kind of give you a little bit of a boost to kind of get things rolling. So Joshua, I've been following your work, and what really stands out, I think, is how you kind of help businesses that go from scattered ideas to more of a structured, scalable type operations. And you weren't always a fractional COO. So how did you make that transition? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So last like real job that I had, I guess, a W-2 job. I was the director of economic development for a local chamber. And I was at a place where I was doing a career transition, February of 2020. I don't know about you, but not a great time to do career transitions at the beginning of COVID. So I was looking at the transition. I was supposed to walk into the position, and the people that were bringing me in said, "Hey, you know what? There's this COVID thing, and we're going to put you on hold." And so,
right,
I was like, "Oh, great! I just jumped with no, a ledge on the other side." So I looked at what's happening in the market, everybody going online. I built a SEO business. I did audits, and I knew exactly who my ICP was, and I kept it really simple. And because of that, I was able to build a 6-figure business in 18 months. While I was doing that, a friend of mine that was a fractional CFO caught up with me, and he said, "Hey, Joshua, with the work that you did at the chamber during economic development work, and then what you did with your own business, you should think about trying to help other people as a fractional COO." So in 2021, I put a shingle up and I said, "Let's give this a shot." And it's grown ever since, and I really enjoy it. No offense to marketing, it's great, I like it, but I think the operations piece, there's more people needed to help kind of get that processes done. There's very much people that need a number two to kind of come in and help them get this structured and organized.
Yes.
So I think the need is there. I think the people to deliver. There's a shortage, and so given my skill and experience, I definitely enjoy that work, and so that's the reason why I've kind of moved in that direction.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just a heads up with the folks that are listening. If you want to try and send us some chats, I believe if you push the chats through on the LinkedIn chat window there, we can see them on this side, and then we can maybe answer some questions if you have any questions. Yeah, that's cool. Just kind of tie in with what you're talking about. I spent a fair amount of time in the construction industry with home builders, electrical contractors, roofers, just HVAC people. And typically, dad was an HVAC guy. So son became an HVAC guy. Then, he stopped working and started his own business. And a lot of times those guys just know less than nothing about business.
They're usually really skilled at what they do, and
Yes.
they're probably like for what you're discussing is kind of that generational passing it on. And so, the kid grew up in the business. They probably actually have a little more business acumen because of sitting under their parents and watching them kind of try and figure things out. But I think that first generation, there's a lot of like learning yourself, finding out the wrong way to do things. Um, and so people very skilled at what they do. And we were working for somebody else and they didn't enjoy it. And so they're, hey, I can do this myself. Great. Welcome to entrepreneurship. It's not just doing the piece that you love, but it's all the other stuff you have to do that, you don't necessarily know about or you don't necessarily enjoy doing it, but you have to do it because
Yes.
you're running a business.
Well, if you're an electrician and you work for a contractor already, I mean, basically get in your car, drive to work, and go do electrical work. That's it.
Yep.
Where if you run your own business, you got accounting, marketing, customer service, answering the phone, plus electrical work, and then you start getting more work than you can handle. So you start thinking, well, maybe I need to hire an employee. So you start that process, which opens up a whole new can of worms. And
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's, part of who I serve is those businesses that are like 500,000 to 5 million in revenue. And the reason why is, with those service-based businesses, they start adding people, they start um, taking on bigger work, more projects, and so the complexity continues to grow.
yes,
Each element you bring, those inner relationships, it adds complexity. And so over time, the business owner is like, man, why am I doing this stuff? Like, why is this so hard? And it's because they didn't hire somebody to manage all the complexity, and it's all falling onto the owner. So you kind of get to a point where you can't grow because you need operations to help figure this out.
yes. And I have found over the years, and this is not true in every case, but people have either kind of the DNA for managing people and employees, and they embrace it. It's no big deal. And there's others that just abhor it. They just cannot handle it.
Well, I mean, this is where you get tested on, what your skill set is, what your makeup is, and then what you enjoy and don't enjoy. And so, given that you have to do probably on average like 10, 15 things a week that are just really important that have to get, you know, somebody eyes on it, somebody make a decision, and you need to decide pretty quick as a new business owner, what aspects of this business am I going to take on and am I going to manage, or is it more efficient for me to hire somebody to do, you know, to help me with this? And not saying like don't do any of it, but just make sure that you're doing the pieces that you actually enjoy. And if you want to be profitable and grow, focus on the stuff that's the high wage, high demand, high growth that only you can really do.
And when you get your first big month of revenue in, don't go out and spend 80 grand on a brand new truck.
Yeah, that's the first person, probably one of the first people you should hire. Well, I have a whole little thing with that. So usually the first person you probably should hire is like an admin assistant to
Yep.
take all the small tasks off your plate. But then the next one is a bookkeeper. And then that bookkeeper should help babysit you a little bit to say, hey, by the way,
Get your hand out of the cookie jar.
yeah, and you have these goals and everything else. And, so yes, the business made all this money, but there might be some lean months in the next couple of months. So make sure
Yes.
you're saving this. So
Yeah, in general contracting, like custom home builders typically work on about a 20%-ish margin. So if you 1 month bring in $200,000, 80% of that is not your money. It
Yeah.
immediately goes right back out the door. So I've seen these guys literally a bajillion times. Like, nice truck. How much money you got in the bank?
They're like, oh, well, I did it so I get the tax write-off. And it's like,
Yeah, whatever.
you only get to write off a third of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. So there would be another piece of advice for people kind of starting their businesses.
Exactly.
Watch your expenses right off the bat.
Start a consultancy or agency, no employees, no trucks, none of that stuff. All right, well, let's get into the next part of this. Let's talk about the right business model. A lot of folks ask that question. Okay, I work for this company. I'm going to start a business, or I'm unemployed. I'm going to start a business. What business should I start? Where should I? I don't even know where to go. What do you think? What would you give it? What kind of advice?
Oh, do your research. I think there's plenty of people out there right now that are in this space about starting your own business or an entrepreneurship. I mean, I know they were listening to us, and so it's weird to say like go talk to somebody else. But I mean, go get resources from multiple places. The one that I'm currently enjoying that I've recommended people is Cody Sanchez. She's kind of an influencer for business buying, and what she says is look for a business that's in the market that people need. That's something that is actually contributing to the community, and see about the potential of owning that. Because there is this thing called the gray wave, where there's a lot of people right now that are in the kind of the boomer age that are getting ready to exit the business or close their business.
Oh, right.
And so there's actually a lot of opportunity right now. If you find someone that's looking, maybe it's a laundromat, a pizzeria, a coffee shop, someone that's looking to exit, you can actually take over their business. Some people might just want legacy, and so they say, hey, we'll give you a good deal on this, and what we really care about is preserving this because it's been in the community for 50 years.
Yes.
And then some other people, they're going to, maybe they have an offer on the table, and so then you'd have to counter that. I don't know, but so one, start with businesses that are already in the community that are doing well, that are looking to transition. That's a good one. The second one is look at what's happening in your local community and what are you missing? Like, what do you wish that was there? What do people keep saying? Like, oh, it'd be really nice if we had X or Y or Z. Then think, okay, what do I know about that? Like, do I have the skills, or can I do this? And then once you decide, like, hey, I think I could do this, or I could learn this really quick, then start small. Like you were saying before, some people already have jobs. Great, that's a good time to start a side business. And for people that are fully in it, and it's whatever you're doing is not working, maybe go back and do your homework again to see, do people actually need your products or service, or is there a different way you can present that product or service to actually appeal to the market and then get that work that you need?
I saw a gal on TikTok. She bought a laundromat in just kind of a small town. Didn't really seem like much. And she advertised and promoted it. And I think at the time that I saw the video, she was knocking down like $20,000 a month in revenue. She had expenses, but she was putting in her pocket like $7,000, $8,000 a month. And that's all she's doing. That one laundromat. She goes in there every day. She has music going. She's cleaned it up, remodeled it a little bit, made it kind of a cool place. Yeah. And she just goes around and just collects quarters, and that's all she does.
And see that's very laborious, and it's not very sexy. And as far as like these tech companies that everybody wants to come up with a new tech idea and become
right
whatever. No, there's in our economy there's these workhorses that are part of our community that help provide goods and services, and there's opportunity in that, especially if you can take something that wasn't tech enabled or that maybe was missing some certain elements, and you can put those in there. I would imagine she put Wi-Fi in there, and she made the place kind of a second home while you had to be there.
Yeah, because I mean, you're probably not going to dump your clothes off and then leave for like 4 hours. You're going to hang out and wait till your clothes are done washing and then throw them in the dryer. And if you got for instance, like desks set up or an area where you can like workstations, I mean, that's awesome.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. You just inspired someone to open up a co-working laundry shop.
Right. Hey, I tell you what, if I had one laundromat and I could generate a good living off of it, that's all I'd do. That is all I would do. Low stress.
Yeah.
I'm at a point in my life where, I want low stress.
Well, and I think that's where there's some freedom in entrepreneurship, is if you can get to a place where your business is running like a well-oiled machine, and you've got your operations really dialed out, you can make a business that, the person that you gave an example of, she's doing fine, right? But she's not going to be the next tech giant,
Right.
star, and she's not going to be able to buy jets and go flying around the world.
Right.
But for her, like, she's making a good income, and she's not having to work for somebody else. She has freedom. Obviously, she's tied to the business, but
Well,
that's okay.
99% of people don't buy jets and Rolls Royces
yeah, exactly.
and party on a boat in the middle of the ocean with a bunch of girls in bikinis.
Yeah.
It's just not what 99% of us do, right?
Yeah, so I think on the business side of this, like, maybe another tip is, work on your definition of what success is. Because like you said, if you could find
Yes.
a business that had a good revenue stream where you could work a couple hours a week, and that was the sum of everything you're doing for that business, why not? That's a great definition of success.
My definition of success has been pretty much the same going back 25, 30 years. And I've always said, if I can have a business with a great product and my customers are happy, my employees are happy, and I'm making a good living, and I can take my wife and kids out for pizza and go on vacation once in a while, I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah. And honestly, most people, even those people that, do W-2 jobs, most people want to get by, they work, they don't live to work, they work to live. Like, it helps pay the bills, and so they go on
Yes.
vacation, they go travel, they go do a million things. So, if you get that security from a W-2 job, you should be able to get your business in that same way. You just have to do it very intentionally. And like you were saying earlier, the buck kind of stops with you. It's everything that happens in the business that all comes back to the owner.
Well, I don't know if when you're growing up and you're getting those first jobs, and you have a boss or an owner you're working with, and you're an idea person, you're throwing all these ideas that, what's the standard line? Listen, son, if you want to do that, go start your own company.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So
No,
I did.
I know it's funny when people ask for advice, like, hey, should I start a business? Should I move? Should I do these different things? And I was like,
Right.
Careful who you ask, because, when you have talked to people that have done it or know what it is, my first piece of advice, if you want to get an entrepreneurship, is don't do it. And if people are like, oh, I think you might be right, great, you failed your first test, so. But if you tell me, hey, no, I think I still want to do this, I'm like, great, you passed your first test, like, good job. Get ready to get a bunch of people telling you why you can't do things. Get ready to face a bunch of no's. This road is not smooth and well traveled. This is something
Yes.
you're going to experience bumps, and you're going to have to figure out how to overcome some challenges. So.
I just did some research on ChatGPT about how many entrepreneurs there are in the U.S. versus how many W-2 employees there are. Just a real basic. I'm trying to remember the number, but it was something like 10%. 10% of people run businesses and own businesses, and the other 90% got a job.
Yeah, it's not, if you sit down and do the math, and if you sit down and, like, actually think about what you're doing and kind of do the analysis before you jump into it, the numbers aren't very friendly. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of stress.
Yes.
It's not an easy thing to do. And, a lot of people have these great ideas. Listen, ideas, that's great. Now get to execution. That's what delineates the success from the failures in business, is who are the people that are actually able to execute on a vision or an idea and get that carried out. And it's not easy to do. I mean, I don't know how many businesses you started or failed. I've been through a few.
Yes, me too.
It's, like Edison said, when interviewed, about light bulbs, and they're like, oh, you failed 9,999 times.
Yes.
Like, no, I just found 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb. So.
Yeah, there's one factor that keeps resonating in my brain, and that factor is So, you got to have a good idea. You got to have a little bit of capital to kind of keep the train moving. You got to have good customer service, good marketing, good logos, website, all these little things. But there's one thing that keeps holding true to me, and I've seen this on the social media platforms with the 21-year-old girls are like, oh my God, I make $150,000 a month. And the thing that they do across the board, the one thing they all have in common is they started doing something and then they do it every single day without let up. And then 2 years later, they've massaged their messaging, they've changed, they've course corrected all this stuff. And now it's 2 years later and they put out 1,000 videos and they have 500,000 followers.
It's consistency. I mean, you're the marketing expert here, but on the operations side, it's about consistency, and that's where I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, when they get started, they have that initial success, they have that friends and family that signs up and sure, I'll give you a project or whatever, but then you do that first one time. That one time doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to continue to be successful, and you have to do it several times.
Yes.
And so by repeating that multiple times, then you are able then to know that you have a process that works, get that documented and straight, and then keep doing it over and over again. And then as you look for small improvements that you could do. And I'm also a big continuous improvement person. So just because you have this perfect little engine, like, can you make it a little bit better, do little improvements? But the key to all of it is consistency. Can you keep consistent delivery, consistent quality, consistency results? Like, just keep doing it.
Yeah, that improvement piece, from a marketing standpoint, one of the major factors that I have found with my inability to nail down a new client is it's in their head. They don't want change. So
Yeah,
trying to get, guys who've owned a business for 10 years, they're making decent money, they're going hunting every year, that life's great. And you start talking to them about making any change and they just freeze up. Like, I don't want to upset the apple cart.
yeah, because they have it figured out. They have a system that they are comfortable with, or they've built this paradigm that they know works, and they don't want anybody messing with it. But the reality is, you have external forces that are constantly influencing your business, and so
Yes.
if you don't have a system where you're adapting and you're willing to change and make improvements, at some point that's system that you have is going to become outdated, or it's not going to work, or something's going to break that you can't just quick fix. You're going
to end up being a travel agency, which
right?
don't exist anymore.
Yeah, or like one of the examples they have given, like business books, is like Kodak, right? Like they just were like, no, film. People are always going to need it. And then when everything went digital, they still were like, hey, listen, high quality is still film. And people were like, yeah, but we're not worried about that.
Did you know that one of their engineers actually brought to them a fully functioning digital camera? And they're like, no, people want film.
So, yeah, I think even with, these businesses, like, maybe like you have a service-based business, a plumber is like, I've got this figured out. I know my pricing, I know everything else.
Yes.
Okay. Well, how about the market conditions where private equity firms have been buying up service-based businesses? So all of a sudden you thought you're competing against every other, Tom, Dick, and Harry in a truck. And now all of a sudden it's, nope, it's a corporation that owns 20 locations, in 5 states, that has an advertising budget and can
top-notch marketing.
Yeah. And they've got a team, in a different country answering the phones and giving quotes and just outpacing you because you're limited in just the way that you had your business set up.
That market is so funny. And I say this because there's so much business out there. Guys with just ridiculous marketing, just goofy looking websites, no branding, crappy customer service. They don't answer the phone half the time, and they're still busy.
Because there's demand. Like, so right now, this is kind of the econ side of things, but
yeah,
the average age in construction and in manufacturing, they're at retirement age now. And we've done such a strong job of telling when they have to go to college to be successful that the trades are actually underrepresented. So when it comes to supply and demand, we're short on having people that can do trade work. And so
Yes.
those folks that aren't delivering a great experience or are not very mindful about it, they're still in demand because people still need the you have a broken toilet, you're going to put up with a lot about getting a
Yeah.
vendor out,
Yes.
right? And when they tell you a window between one and 6 in the afternoon, 6 at night, guess who's sitting there waiting for this person to show up between the 5-hour window, right? Because you have a broken toilet. So I, if there were way more people in the market that could provide it, then that tolerance would be lessened. But right now,
Well, they have their own issues as well with labor. They can't get labor.
exactly. And so we have to, as consumers, we have to basically tolerate it. But, you know, with the service-based businesses that we've worked with, a couple of things. One, like you said, fix your customer service, answer your phone. Those are two quick improvements you can do right away to get good revenue, to help increase
Yes.
referrals and connections. And those are small changes without a huge investment. And, but someone that's been doing this forever, you tell them that, they're like, no, everything's fine. Everything's fine as long as nothing changes. But things are changing. Make those two small changes. That will help you.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I see plumbers underneath houses taking customer service calls, and they're just annoyed as heck. So half the time they just don't even answer the phone. And the other half of the time, they're constantly like, well, I'm underneath the house. I can't talk to you right now, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, bro, get you an assistant.
Yep.
He does nothing but answer the phones.
Yeah. Because, when you're in those desperate situations, right, you just want to know that somebody can help relieve that pain that you're in right away.
Yes.
So whoever answers the phone is probably going to get the business.
Oh, my gosh.
Even if you have to wait an hour, right? Like, hey, the guy's under the house right now, but he'll call you back in 2 hours. Great.
I hear that from customers I hear it from my friends, my family. I can't get nobody to answer the phone.
Yeah, and the idea, like, well, I'm so busy, like that's okay. Well, is it?
No, yeah, that's not the excuse. So what do you see? Like, a lot of folks kind of have this thing that they're waiting for the perfect time to start a business, start a consultancy, whatever. What are you seeing that as well? You
Yeah.
see that?
Yeah, there's kind of two schools of thought when it comes to entrepreneurship or getting into it. One is just you stand on the shore, you look at the ocean, you measure the temperature, the air pressure, you
Right.
look at the waves, and you do all the calculations and research before you even try to cut a board to build a boat. And then you have the guy next to you that grabs a piece of driftwood, throws it on the water, jumps on it, and starts going,
Yeah.
So what's the right answer? It depends on how much risk you want, how you want to approach this. But I would definitely say with entrepreneurship, it rewards action. So as much thinking and planning and everything you want to do, that's fine. But until you put your hand, to the ground or nose to the grindstone, or you put your hand to the tiller of the boat, there's a point in time where you have to turn all of those ideas into action. How fast and how soon? The sooner you're on the water, the sooner you realize like what works and doesn't work, and you can figure things out. But if you have responsibilities and everything else, then that's harder to convince your spouse. Like, don't worry about it. We'll figure out how we're going to eat.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, you can't throw your kids out with the bathwater, but what I see a lot of times is folks, and it's because they're scared. They don't really want to get started. So it's easy to sit around and go, well, I got to test this. I got to try that. I got to do this. I'm just not sure, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And the thing is, you learn by getting your knees bloody. You learn and you course correct. And people have this thing that, like, first you build it, like a house. You build a house, it's approved by the city, and then you move in. That's not business.
Yeah,
business, you're building as you're going. You're living in the house while it's moving. And I don't want that bedroom that big. Let's move it. Let's make it smaller. Let's make it bigger. And business is the same way. You're constantly course correcting, and you will never stop course correcting.
I think if I were to equate it to like the marketing kind of component, a business is more like a website, right? There's a certain amount of permanency and impermanency at the same time. Like you can do
Yes.
things, you can change things, everything else, right? It's not like a print magazine that once you publish it, once it
You're
hits,
done.
yeah, that's not how this works. It's more like a website where you can make changes and pivots and everything else. But then what do you need to get started? You need enough to talk to your ideal client profile or ICP. You need to offer your service and unique selling point, and you need to convert them. How many pages do you need that? How much content? That's, you can answer that question to someone another day. But for small business and getting started, I think most of the advice out there, and I have I don't know, what, about 200 business books here. Most of them say just get proof of concept, like get your first client. Everything
And
else,
yep.
everything else, you're gonna have to figure that out later. But see that you actually product market fit, and that somebody actually believes that you're going to deliver the value, and then they pay you for it. As soon as you get that first check, you realize, okay, this might actually do something.
In software development, that's kind of the nexus of the whole agile movement. In the old days, IBM used to bring in 500 guys, developers, and they would plan this software they're going to sell in the market, and they would design it and build it, and then they'd push it out in the market with their hands all folded up, going, "There you go, that's our product." And then they realized they built the wrong thing. And so now it's all about these little iterative processes and these bite-sized chunks. You build a little bit, you create a minimum viable product, you push it out, and you start getting feedback, and you start creating that feedback loop.
Yeah, I mean,
Business is the same way.
well, it is, oh man, I don't remember the name of the law, but a friend of mine just mentioned it the other day.
Yeah.
I think it's Galt's law. Basically, complex systems are built on simpler systems.
Yes.
So everything you're doing with your business right now, you're learning how to do bookkeeping, or you're learning how to manage client negotiations or sales or whatever. All those little systems and all those little components, in their simplicity when you first get started, they needed to be built. And then they start stacking together. Then all of a sudden, that's when you get that complex business. And so people want to look and say, oh, well, this business is 5 years down the line. They're doing all this stuff. I should be doing that. And I'm like, you're at the start. You got to build your little pieces and build those simple pieces
Yes.
before you start looking at complexity going, I want to build a complex system like it. But you don't have proof. You don't have that first client. You don't have that first money. And maybe that direction that they went, the marketing conditions and everything were set up perfect for that. But your journey is going to look different because here you are now at this place in time.
I've even told people, you don't even need to go out and get a business license yet. Like, create your concept and start promoting it and doing some sales calls and get, you get a client who's ready to write you a check, run down to the city or the state. It's usually $20, get you a little business license, or in Arizona, you can fire up an LLC for about $50.
Yeah.
On your own.
Yeah, Kentucky it's 40. So,
and then you run down to the bank, or you don't even need to run down to the bank. You can just get online, fire up a QuickBooks checking account with your QuickBooks accounting. And, I always say, get your accounting squared away right up from the beginning, so that as you go at the end of the year, all you're doing is handing your person doing your taxes a P&L and a balance sheet for the year, and they can pretty much do your taxes.
And you can file for an EIN number right out the gate.
Oh, takes like 2 minutes.
Yeah. And then, then open up a bank account, and then there you go. You're good to go. So, there's some pre-prep that people should do when they're going into entrepreneurship. But for the most part, throw it out there, see who bites, and then figure out if you're going to turn it into a business or not.
So what's the first thing in your opinion that a business should delegate, automate, outsource? What do you think?
Yeah, so the first thing that I would say is get an assistant. When someone's growing, let's say I work with interior designers, and they get to a point where like, oh, we're getting really busy, I'm going to hire another interior designer. And I'm like, okay, is that really the best person? Because you have to train them, which means you have to untrain them from whatever they know, and then you have to train them in your way, and then you have to supervise them, and it becomes quite a bit to do.
Yes.
What if you were to take all the busy work and all the small tasks let's say you bill at $200 an hour. Any task that's a $10 an hour task, why are you doing it? Hire someone for $10 an hour,
Yes.
right? And then that person, works 20 hours, and that's what, $200 for that person. So then go work an extra hour. So that time that you're getting back, just work a couple extra hours to cover the cost of that person. All of a sudden, you're going to have more money. You're going to have less busy work, which is going to mean you're going to be more creative. You're going to be more inspired. And so then you're going to be able to have more time to do really cool work and keep billing. And so all that busy work is being handled by somebody else.
Well, in people don't realize you don't have to go hire an employee around town. I've been outsourcing to offshore providers for 15 years,
Yeah.
Upwork and whatnot. I'm just a small guy, and I'm counting my nickels and pennies, and the internet has opened up the world.
Yes.
So I have a local bookkeeping company would be charging me $200 to $350 a month to do my books. I have a gal who has a bookkeeping service. She's a certified QuickBooks person. She lives in the Philippines, and for $50 a month, she does my books. Done.
And for those in the U.S. listening, $50 in the Philippines is a really nice salary. I mean, the dollar translation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not like making $50 here in the U.S. You're paying them basically what about?
Well, you're paying them what they make in their country.
Yeah.
But you happen to be here.
Yeah, and they're educated, trained. Like you got some really great talent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now that whole process, there's an art to it. Because like if you get on Upwork and you want to design a website and you post your job, you'll get probably 150 proposals from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Ukraine, all over the place. And
I've seen the bid rates everywhere from like I'm like, wait, $20 to get this project done, and then I get someone that's in the Germany or US or whatever, and it's like $10,000. And I'm like, how did this go from $50 to like $10,000?
or they're quoting $3.75 an hour. So, I've hired lots and lots and lots of those folks, and you got some young girl who's 3 or 4 years out of college, and you look at her work and you're like, man, she's a really good designer.
Yeah.
And she's only charging, $4 or $5 an hour, and she's living in Bangladesh. I hear those people all the time. I always throw them up, like a tip, 10, 20, $30, and man, they just love it.
Nice.
And they take good care of you. I don't know, it doesn't bother me.
But let's say like some of the people listening, maybe they want to look at what's the US version of that. So the US version of that is, you've got students at college, you've got high school students, you've got people getting their own businesses started.
Yep.
And so, why not give somebody else an opportunity to?
Because I don't have $30 an hour.
No. I'm just saying.
That's my response to those people.
No, right. But I'm saying for those that can afford it and value it and want to do it.
Yes.
There are also people in the U.S. that will do it at a discounted rate.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah,
and when we grow, when your company grows, and instead of doing, $20,000 a year, you're all of a sudden doing $250,000, you can move things around and hire somebody in town who you can meet with at Starbucks or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. So I think the kind of the main point, right, we're trying to say is like offload some of that work to the people that you could pay. And, I've seen people in small businesses try to nickel and dime every savings, let's say you have $100,000 of expenses. Well, why are you spending $20,000 of time, energy, and effort to cut that down as low as possible? Where I would argue is, why don't you just use that time and energy to go generate more sales? Like, cut your costs down. But
yes,
definitely spend. This is the nice thing about small business. You ever have a problem and you need something? Go get some more money, i.e., clients. Use that money then to help solve your problem.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, some people have too much of I have to whittle people down on price on everything they do. and it creates a really bad relationship.
No, the formula that I use and I want my team to use, and we really try to work towards it, is how do we provide more value than what we're capturing, right?
Yes.
So if you hire me with as an operations person, let's say average engagement's like 5,000 a month.
Yeah.
How do I make sure that I'm providing 10,000, 15,000, $20,000 worth of value that we can actually tie to a bottom line number, to valuation, to cash flow, to peace of mind? If we can tie it to those elements, then somebody can say, wow, I'm getting all of this and I'm paying this. That's a great.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's the same way in sales as well.
Yeah.
Like, show this much value to where your buyer goes, I'd be an idiot not to work with this guy.
Right. And so if you play it that way, then you have infinite opportunity to grow. You have infinite opportunity to expand and to move into work that's actually more interesting. I think for a lot of people, especially in the service industry, doing the routine, rote, like boring stuff, you do it because you have to do it. But then you're
Yeah.
kind of waiting for those, like, where's that really cool creative project? Kind of going back to the plumbers there. Most plumbers in states, they do water and gas.
Yes.
So, doing the broken toilets, okay, that's one thing. But then what happens if you fix the toilet for someone that actually is looking at remodeling their backyard, and all of a sudden they want to have a gas fireplace and they want to do all these really cool things?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like, if you're a plumber and you're like, oh my gosh, I love those jobs. Well, guess what? You get those jobs by doing these little jobs that you have to do over and over and over again, doing those excellently.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've taken on cheap work because typically the conversation goes into bigger work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
I'm gonna throw this up real quick. I put this together this morning, and it's essentially kind of a checklist. And I figured it would allow our folks to like screenshot this if they wanted to. And it's just kind of a quick rundown of going from job seeker to job creator, your escape plan, shift your mindset, stop thinking about employees and start thinking like an owner and not an employee. Identify your marketable skills. That's probably one of the most important.
I like that.
What do you know that people will pay for? Validate, and then also look at the competition. I mean, like, if you want to be a web designer, that's cool. And you can probably make some money if you beat your head against the wall enough. But I mean, it's a super, super saturated market, and AI is quickly just replacing those people.
Seriously.
Validate your business idea, find a real problem, offer a solution to people in need, see what happens. Get your first customer. Don't overcomplicate it. Just get a customer, get somebody. Even if, it's like that first job, you see the resume and it says babysitter, and that was their first job. And so just jump on it. Build a simple offer, create a clear service, clear price, clear value, set up some basic systems, website, invoicing, a little bit of branding, logo. There's automatic logo creators online you can use. Let's see, a little bit of marketing always. Start while you have income. Like if you got a job right now, start now. I mean, because
yes,
you're not beating your head against the wall with, potentially your wife breathing down your neck going, honey, the rent is due in 5 days.
I wish, job security was what it was, 20, 40 years ago. It's not. So
no, it's not.
Yeah. So work on your side hustle right now.
Yeah. Before you get fired. Because it seems like these days it's just bound to happen.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see, leverage your network. Lots of people. Now I remember back in the old days, you get a sales job and they're like, first people you got to call is your aunt and uncle, your mom and dad, and your brother and sister. I'm like, yeah, that's a great way to like irritate the heck out of you.
Especially if you're a serial entrepreneur, then your family's like, so what are you doing this year?
What are you doing this week? Think beyond solopreneurship. Like if it's possible, you don't always have to do this, but build a business that doesn't just depend on you. Like, the problem with consulting and if you're kind of the consultant, if you're on vacation for a week, there's probably not a whole lot happening.
So that's where that definition of success is super helpful, because if you want a lifestyle business, then great, be a one person shop. But if you want to build something that can run without you, it's gonna be complex, and you're gonna need people and processes to get that done.
Yes, absolutely. And the last one is just start. Just start. Nothing that you're doing today, a year from now, will probably still be in place. You will have changed it and
Yeah.
went down a different road, and you start down the road. And I can't tell you how many people, for instance, a buddy of mine. So, anyway, screenshot that. A buddy of mine got a hold of me and he's like, "Hey, dude, I got an idea for a business. All right, just like, I don't want to hear anything. Just tell me, just listen to what I got to say." I said, "All right, hit me." So what you do is when women get married, they buy a wedding dress, and when they use it for like a half a day, and then what do they do with the wedding dress? They just
Right.
probably throw it in their closet. What about a website where people can put their wedding dresses on? Then other people that don't want to spend 2,000 on a wedding dress can spend maybe 800 or 900 bucks and buy a used wedding dress. I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's called eBay. That's called like literally 1,000 websites I can think of off the top of my head.
I met a guy in Tulsa. He was so excited. He was like, "Oh, I'm building this thing where you go online, instead of building your own web page, you go on this page that other people are building sub pages on, and then you share like what's happening in your life, and then you know." I was like, "So it's Facebook?" It's like, no, it's not Facebook because it's not Facebook. I was like, but it's the same. It's the same service. It's the same. He's like, no, it's different. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, after you've been in business off and on and you've gotten beat up and failed like 100 times, you get kind of jaded.
Okay, so let me take the devil's advocate side of your friend's thing, right?
Yeah.
So the area where he's not wrong is the niche.
Yes.
So maybe
You're right.
because eBay's too complicated, it's got a lot of these rules and everything else. I mean, I think that's why like Etsy was able to get so much of a market share of people that do crafting, because it was not eBay. Like eBay had a very like
Yes.
so his idea could work, but to your point, there's only a way to get
Well,
things to people.
yeah. One thing he did bring up, and I had to agree with him 100%. He's like, look, I'm not trying to be the Bill Gates of wedding dresses. I can make a good enough living rock and roll and doing my own thing and have this super, super niche type business. I said, you are absolutely right. But here's the problem with that. You got to hit the ground kind of running. You got to have like a killer website with a killer brand and a very succinct, structured message that targets who you are and what you're about. And that's where people drop the ball.
So this is where I would say, if you're going to get into entrepreneurship, maybe another piece of advice, go talk to other people about your idea and how you want to run it. And then they're going to tell you 1,001 reasons why you can't do it or what doesn't work out for you.
Yes.
And you know what? It's not that they don't like your idea, or it's not that you're wrong. It's just they're trying to give you an idea of first impression and then kind of some other things you should consider. And that's part of this journey, is that you can't take feedback and you can't be open to it.
Yeah, you need to not be in business.
Yeah.
And how big is the mountain that you're trying to climb? Now, if you got an idea that no one has ever thought about, the mountain gets to be a little bit lower because, nobody's doing that. And now you just got to market it good and push it out there to the market. And if there's enough demand, then you might kick some butt, right?
Yeah.
But it's like the restaurant business. Like telling somebody don't open up a restaurant because there's, everybody's done that.
The fail rate's really high on those. Yeah.
Super high fail rate. But if you're in a good niche and you have, because I know guys that have started restaurants, I'm like, dude, your food sucks. Like, I'm a pretty, like, I'm an middle guy. If your food rocks, I'm going to tell you, dude, this food is like stupid good. You're just doing tacos and you're killing it, but your tacos suck.
You know what's bad is when their food sucks and they're busy and people like,
I know,
and they have great reviews. Then you're just like, and there's another tip with entrepreneurship: be right. Like, if you have an idea and everyone's telling you, no, it's not going to work, it's not going to work. And then you do it and you execute and you win, you succeed, right? Then be right. And so,
You know what? One of the analogies I've used in the past, it's a little harsh, but like when you got a guy who's just a jerk like 90% of the time, and then somebody says, Bob? Oh, I love Bob. I'm like, yeah, Adolf Hitler had a couple buddies too. But Adolf Hitler was still a jerk.
yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's
love
like that in business. It's like, yeah, if you just stand on the street corner and make tacos, they can be the worst tacos on the earth, and you'll find some people that'll buy them and eat them.
And yeah, that's actually one of those business analogies about, product market fit. It's if you have hot dogs, right? Standing outside of a gym, like a new age gym,
Yeah.
selling hot dogs. Good luck. I don't know what you're gonna do, but if you're standing outside of a baseball game, right, or at the end of a concert, all of a sudden, your hot
Yeah, they're
dogs
not watching their weight.
yeah, your hot dogs could be okay, but because you're there, that's why people buy it. So,
And there's 18 billion people walking by you.
yeah.
Like, dude, I'm just hungry. Give me one of those hot dogs.
So I think even in this idea, with your going back to your friend with the wedding dress idea,
Yeah.
we could easily say, well, here's some things that you really need to be aware of. Here's some challenges, but
Yes.
if you can get in the right place at the right time with the right idea.
Well, he was trying to start it with no money. And I said, bro, like literally all your money should be spent on web development, branding, and marketing, and you can do the marketing by popping up a TikTok channel
Yeah.
and just pounding it every day. I said, but it has to be done right. Otherwise, you're just going to be beating your head against the wall because
Yeah,
in this current market, I look at it like this. The ceiling is 10 feet high and we're all at about 9 feet, 7 inches, and everyone's trying to poke their head above the crowd.
yeah,
It's
and that's
tough.
yeah, and especially because just because you do the action doesn't necessarily mean people will believe you. And so then, to your point, you have to have social proof. And with wedding dresses, you don't want to cheap out on it. Like if the messaging doesn't align or the delivery system doesn't align with the expectations, then
Yes.
Well,
There's some, and then we just talked about this. There are some businesses out there that are successful by virtue of existence.
right.
They're on the street corner. They've been there for 20 years. They do zero advertising. They bought business cards 20 years ago, and the owner is still ticked off that he spent $20 on business cards. That's the mentality.
Well, and I'm pretty sure you probably get people, as a marketer, you probably get a lot of people that are like, hey, I have this really great idea and it's going to make all this money. So why don't you hook me up with a website, hook me up with all the marketing so I can get my idea off the table, and I'll make good with you as soon as this idea pays out.
Yeah. I'm in the marketing business and I get pounded daily from web designers, SEO people, just pounded. And I'm just like, God, I'm in the wrong. There's too many people out there doing this. And the problem is with most business owners, they don't know the difference between good marketing and bad marketing.
Because I think part of it is just, are you there? Are you in front of people? And so,
yeah. Oh man, I can't tell you how many people that I've known that are actually personal friends. They're like, hey, bro, we just had a new website designed for our window cleaning business. Take a look and let me know what you think. Like, no, I really don't want to.
yeah,
Because I'm going to tell you exactly what I think. And then I look at their website. I'm like, oh my God, dude, you paid for that? You literally paid money for that.
how much did you pay for it? And they're like, oh, a couple grand. And then you're like, why didn't you come to me?
It's like, dude, this is bad. There's no messaging. There's no call to actions. There's just nothing going here. The logo looks like a fifth grader did it. I mean,
yeah. Did you ever? Okay, sorry. This is a total side note. It has nothing to do with operations. But
yeah, go ahead.
Do you ever read the oatmeal? When a website design goes straight to hell.
Oh,
Look it up.
It's the iterations back and forth with the S.
Yes.
Now, it's funny you say that because I have designed websites that started off with like a phenomenal concept. And by the time the owner gets in the kitchen and keeps throwing stuff in the soup pot at the end, when somebody says, "Hey, did you design that website?" Two things. Yes, I did. Secondly, caveat, I have nothing to do with the final outcome. That was all the owner. So if you see anything on there that doesn't work, is stupid looking, it's not me. That's what the owner wanted.
What's really bad is when they pick out the elements that were actually yours, and then you're like, oh, wait, but those are good elements.
Well, I always tell folks, like, some are just like, hey, you're the pro, do your thing.
Yeah.
I love those kind. I want feedback from them, but I still, but then you get the ones that are micromanaging. And at a certain point, I'm like, look, at the end of the day, you're paying me and I will do anything you want.
Yeah. See, there. Okay, another piece of advice.
Yes.
Know how to handle your customers, because you're selling them something, they have an expectation, but then if they have any alterations or changes on it, do you have a way to accommodate that, or can you make that work? Like, because as operator too, I've been hired to do operations work, and someone's like, I need you to help document these processes. I start working on it, and then we start realizing they're not documented, or there's an employee not doing their job, or there's some theft going on. And so all of a sudden, this main work that I was doing gets hijacked by this other stuff that we discovered.
Oh, right.
And so
scope creep.
Well, scope creep, or there's shifting priorities on some level. So I just think, going back to the web design thing, knowing how to take that feedback, especially the website, right? You get a lot of feedback and a lot of interaction on that.
Yes.
Make sure you have a system in place to handle that and process that, so you're not caught off guard. Because with creative work, you never get a first pass usually. I mean, if you do, congratulations. But usually there's always a feedback, iterative process.
Oh, sure.
Make sure you build that. And so same thing with service-based businesses. When you show up to do this work, what happens when you open up the floor and then you realize, oh, these components are missing, or this needs to be upgraded?
It's called exclusions.
Right. You need to have a plan to deal with some of those kind of.
You have to control. Yeah. A gal I did a website for a year and a half ago. She was micromanaging through the entire process. So I just kind of threw my hands up and figured, well, she's going to micromanage, just let her do it. So at the end of it, she hated the website. I'm like, you designed it. You picked the colors, you picked the layout, you picked where I placed everything, you picked everything. And now you're telling me that you don't like it. I said, well, what am I supposed to do with that?
So I'm a recovering web developer on some level, and so I actually got to a place in my career where it was like, there's a stop clause. Like, hey, listen, we've hit so many revisions, and we're now at a place, we're so far off the map, I can't do this. So here's everything. I'm firing myself. Here's all of your materials. Here's everything. The next designer, show them what you did, show them how we went through this whole thing, and then good luck. Because it's not, here, another piece of advice, not every project and every dollar is worth the time and energy.
Oh, right? Totally.
Sometimes the juice is not worth the squeeze, as they say. So.
The juice is not worth the squeeze. Yeah, there's some very high-end designers, and they will tell they got tons of business or in high demand. They will tell their clients right up front, all right, so here's the deal. We're going to research together so I understand your business, and then after that, you're done. Like, you have no say. Like, this is my design, my development, and my vision, and I'm putting it out there. And if you can't work like that, tally ho.
So there's the extreme version of that.
Yeah, that's extreme, right? Exactly. But I
mean, arguably, but see, at that point, they have a system. They already know. They have proof.
Yes.
Like, they've battle tested, and that's how they got into that place. So.
Oh, I've lost clients because I'm like, look, here's the deal. I've been in marketing and development and design and branding for 25 years. I'm good at what I do. I'm not like award winning, but I will find you what you need so you can promote your product and generate sales. So if you just have this vision and you want to micromanage, we probably don't have a good fit.
That's good. And I think here, I'm going to keep tagging these little advice ideas here.
Yeah.
So understanding how you want to be treated and like how you want people to treat you. I think that's part of it. And when you interview a client, have an intake process where you're not just being interviewed, but you're actually interviewing the client to see if that's the
Yes.
client you want to work with.
Now we understand the reality is when you're first getting going, you're probably going to take any and every job you can get your hands on, and you get that. But that'll wear off after a while. After a while, you're like, I'm kind of averaging a couple of gigs a month, and I'm not starving, and so I'm going to start being a little more picky. And you'll find the good clients that respect you, respect the process. You'll weed out the ones that on the last day, all of a sudden, they're holding payment because of some innocuous, ridiculous reason.
Yeah.
In home building, that's huge. With custom homes, it's typical for the bank and the homeowner on a custom home to hold back, 10 or 15%. So they might be holding $40,000.
Yeah.
And then they go do a walkthrough and they're up on the drywall with a magnifying glass saying, well, there's an imperfection here. And so when I was in home building, I created a standards based upon national standards, and drywall is meant to be judged from 8 feet away.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
See,
So you just
but that was something that you learned by doing it. And then
Yes.
two, you created a system or process in place to help deal with that. So I think
yes.
that's where I think the advice that you're giving is, I don't know that we disagree, but I think we're coming at it from two different angles. One
Sure.
is, make sure you really know who your client is and kind of what you're getting
Yeah.
when you take that person on. But the other part is, if you haven't been down some of those roads, if you haven't experienced some of that stuff, go do that so you learn why you don't want to do those things.
If you're doing web design, always build on a staging server. That way you have control of the website.
Piece of advice that you learn,
because there's some people, it's in their DNA. I don't know how their mama raised them, but they'll get down to the end. All of a sudden, they just start playing games, and it's like, okay, your website is mine, and until you're ready to start talking, some common sense, and work with the agreement we have in place. Get back to me when you're ready.
Well, part of my experience with that too is I actually worked with a couple of clients that they went into the project thinking that they were going to expend X, and they wound up spending a little over X. But they didn't actually have the money on the back end because they were hoping that something was going to come through. And so they didn't have the final payment.
Sure.
And so what they did was they went through the website with the fine-tooth comb and were finding all these flaws. And so what they were trying to do is push out the invoice date because they didn't have the money.
Right.
And I was like, after the third time that happened to me with a client, I finally told them, I was like, are you not paying me because you really are concerned about these things, or is it because you're strapped right now? And they're like, yeah, money's tight right now. I was like, oh, okay, well then how about you stop giving me a little bit of work to do? All this little work.
Just talk to me, Ray. Just tell me, like I got a soft heart, and if you're strapped and I got to wait an extra 3 weeks, but for sure it's coming.
Yeah,
I can work with that.
Yeah, because then I will maybe point your domain to my staging site, and then in 30 days, if you still don't pay, then
we'll point it back. Just talk to people, quit being, shifty.
Yeah, I mean, it's embarrassing when you don't have money, and especially if you're doing things where obviously in business, that's probably another thing is you don't always have the cash on hand, and so you have to take that risk and take that
Yes.
The clients are all going to pay on time, trusting that you're not going to have an emergency, that your cash reserves are going to go away. So
stuff happens. I mean, it's part of life. It's part of being a human. It's part of running business. Yeah. Well, we're at an hour. We're actually a little bit over an hour, so need to wrap things up here. Just kind of what are your parting words for someone who is either A, got a job, or B, don't have a job, but they want to start their own business? Just kind of like what's kind of a mindset, or what's kind of their first steps they should do?
Yeah, I definitely would think through, what is it that you enjoy doing? What is it that people will pay for? Where are those people? Can you get access to them? Once you have that, build something that you can test and sell, get a couple clients, and then once you do that a couple times, then go through and follow all of follow everything on every rule. Let me tell you that right now. I'm not a lawyer.
Yes.
I'm not saying don't follow the rules. I'm just saying there are times and places where those become very important. And so get proof of concept going and then worry about structuring the business. And then second thing is when you do this, don't see it like freelancing is where you sell something, you get the cash, you put it in your pocket, and then you do whatever you want with it. If you actually want a business, that money needs to go into the business account. Expenses come out of there, and then put yourself on a budget and treat it like a business. And that's where I think people have trouble is they're not sure if they're freelancing or if they're going to do a real business. But practice treating it like a real business because as it grows, eventually it can take over your main income.
Totally. Yeah, that's really good advice. You can always tell those folks because when you talk to them, they're like, man, last month I made $30,000. It's like, okay, there's no such term in accounting called made. Made doesn't exist. There's no such thing as I made.
Yeah.
There is revenue.
Yeah.
And then out of that revenue, you have expenses. So my question is, you generated $20,000 in revenue. Oh, you had $17,000 in cost of goods. So, okay, well, your gross profit was $3,000, and out of that, you had to pay for marketing, telephones, and everything else.
What's your fixed cost? $1,500 a month. Okay.
Right. You didn't make anything. But let's take made out of your vocabulary.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as made.
Yeah.
All right, and then my parting words are this, because I've seen this way too many times. You got guys like me or even Josh here, you know, if you're kicking around some ideas, you got to bounce those ideas from guys that have just been there, done that. Because, you know, it pains me to see people spend time and effort, quit their job, whatever, and they're heading down this road and you're going to hit a roadblock because you got the wrong idea at the wrong time in life. So run those like, I'm on LinkedIn, ping me on a message, you know, quick and dirty. I'm thinking about this market. Here's my idea, blah, blah, blah. What do you think? I'll ping you back and go, possibilities, a lot of work, or no, pass on that. Just go find another idea, go find something else, or take your skills and create a different business model, whatever. There's always ways to work around it. And it comes down to like, you know, how steep of that hill do you want to climb? That's really what it comes down, because almost anything's possible if you work hard enough and consistent enough. But, you know, we would just as soon work less and still have something that's, you know, is scalable and
work smarter, not harder, right?
Work smarter, not harder. So thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Great discussion.
Yeah,
and if anybody's thinking about starting a business, I think there was some good stuff there. We're going to be putting this on Spotify, YouTube, and it also sits on LinkedIn as well.
Hey, by the way, anyone listening, if they want, I have a little giveaway, so I will put that on the, give that to you, Jerry, if you want to.
Yeah. We'll just put it right on the event page for this LinkedIn Live, and then that way they can contact you and do whatever.
Yeah, it's a little operations checklist, and then I'll give them. I usually do 30 minutes with people, but I'll give you an hour of time to talk through whatever you want to talk about.
No, nice. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, thanks, Josh. Well, hey, thanks a lot, folks. Jerry Rigged Podcast. I'm Jerry, hence the name Jerry Rigged.
I get it.
That was actually a buddy of mine's idea. It's like, man, you're always jerry rigging something.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's called being resilient, right?
Yeah. You've actually achieved a marketing success because it's not MacGyvering, it's jerry rigged.
Right, exactly. So now MacGyver is jerry rigging. So thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
The Jerry Rigged Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or Google. Business technology for CEOs, managers, and business owners. We're here to deliver insights and strategies without the fluff. This is the Jerry Rigged Podcast.